Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Kickin Aspergers. This is episode number 4. I'm your host, Tim, and today I'm going to talk about various subjects that I have found myself interested in and what seem to be common subjects people who are high functioning autistic or have Asperger's tend to have a strong interest in. Again, I want to preface this with a little disclaimer that I am not a medical professional. I do not have the capability to diagnose anyone if they're autistic or have Asperger's, high functioning autism, ADD, ADHD, anything like that. If you believe that you may have autism or another um, condition, I strongly encourage you to seek the help and the guidance of medical professionals, a psychologist, psychiatrist, or even a physician. So, again, this episode I want to focus on some of the subjects that I had an interest in, still have an interest in, how they've grown and waned over time, and why I think that I've had an interest in those, and some other subjects that people who happen to be high functioning autistic tend to have some interests in. For me, I had a very strong interest throughout, especially grade school, middle school, junior high, into high school, and when I entered college in mathematics. I was very, I excelled exceptionally well at mathematics. I still really enjoy math. Not all aspects of mathematics do I excel at. For instance, I don't like statistics. I don't understand the statistics very well. I've taken statistics courses. I can do it. That is actually one area that I struggle in. But when it comes to the more advanced type of mathematics that people tend to associate with those that have Asperger's or nerds, I guess, geeks, I excelled quite well at calculus. As a matter of fact, when I was in high school, I typically slept during my high school calculus course, and for most people that would be a problem. However, for me, apparently it wasn't. I oftentimes was the one that set the curve for my class. And math has always been a real strong suit for me. I remember when you first entered multiplication tables, we would have minute-long times table tests, and I just blew through those at such an accelerated rate. It was ridiculous. I ended up having to make additional tests beyond what the teacher had because I was so far ahead of the rest of the class. It was unlike anything she had seen before. So quite literally, I had to test myself. I also tend to do very well at science, specifically the physical sciences, not the biological sciences. So physics is my strong suit. I'm okay with chemistry. Chemistry is not my favorite subject, but I do very well with physics. And that is something that led me the mathematics and with the calculus and the algebra, along with those physical sciences that I tend to excel at. Physics led me to pursue my college education in meteorology. As many people know, meteorology tends to be something that is very heavy in physics and calculus differential equations. So really, it satisfied that itch that I had for the higher level math and physics. I could have very easily gone into sort of engineering course. There are a lot of calculus and physics requirements for engineers, especially for civil engineers. And that's something that I could have done as well. And actually, going to college, I studied a lot in my my meteorology courses or my math and science courses that I took with engineering majors. So even today, I still have relationships with a lot of engineers, more specifically civil engineers. Some other classes that I really enjoyed taking, subjects that I really enjoyed studying, was computer programming. I'm not proficient, I've taken, but I'm not very proficient in any of these computer classes. QBasic, C++, Java, and Fortran. Outside of those, I have taught myself some C, and when it comes to web programming, way back in the day, this is 20 plus years ago, I actually taught myself how to code in HTML. I don't do anything with JavaScript. I don't have any real experience with Python or anything like that. But if I really wanted to, I'm sure I could study it and be relatively successful with it. So those are really the mathematics with the calculus and the science with the physics and computer programming were really the three subjects that I enjoyed the most. And whenever you would test, if you would take an ACT test or an SAT test, those very quantitative subjects I tend to excel at. Throughout my life, I've had various other interests in subjects that I've been interested in. I am actually a ham radio operator. There's a lot of engineering, basic electronic theory that goes into that, and I really enjoyed that. There's also astronomy. I used to be really big into astronomy. I took an astronomy course when I was in college as an elective, but that was just a semester-long course, 3 credit hours. It was an elective that I think I needed in order to get one of my minors. But it was not something that I pursued. But I did at one time have a pretty strong interest in astronomy. I had a telescope. Some other subjects that I'm interested in, I haven't studied. There tend to be a lot of people that are interested, that are high-functioning autistic or have Asperger's, that are interested in history. I am interested in history, but it has to be the right history. Some of it is some war history. A lot of it has to do with, again, because of my interest in meteorology and weather and why I have a degree in that, a lot of my interest in history tends to fall more into the historical meteorological events. For instance, this year, here it is, 2019, I'm in the Kansas City area. There were a lot of people that were surprised that we had snow early in the season, and we had snow on October 30th. That is not the earliest that snow has fallen in Kansas City. A lot of people don't know that in October of '96, we had a rather large snow event that dropped 4 to 8 inches of snow across Kansas City. Even last year, we had the earliest recordable snowfall at Kansas City International on, I believe it was October 15th of last year. So even though we did have an early snow, it's not something that is that unusual or unheard of. So it's stuff like that that really kind of interests me. I'm not a huge history buff, but there are a lot of people that do have Asperger's or are high functioning autistic that do really enjoy history. There are some people that really enjoy art. I suck at drawing. I do not understand art in a lot of cases. But I'm not saying that you aren't going to be interested in art or various art forms if you do fall on the autism spectrum or are high functioning autistic. And now that I think about it, actually I did play an instrument all the way up through senior year high school. I was a trumpet player, and I guess that was my artistic outlet, that I did participate in the pep band that would play at basketball games. Of course, we were in the marching band. The entire band was in the marching band during the fall semester during football games. I also even participated in the pit orchestra for one of the musicals that was put on at the school. The name of that musical, I remember it, was How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. And it was a lot of fun. I had a good time doing that, and I would definitely do that again given the situation. So I guess that is my artistic outlet. Um, but the one thing that I always found interesting with me is that over time, I tend to become really hyper focused on one subject. For instance, the amateur radio, the ham radio. I used to be really hyper focused on that subject, and today I don't have very much interest in it at all. I still participate a little bit. I do volunteer for some events from time to time, helping them with their communications. Same thing with astronomy. I don't think my parents have the telescope anymore. I think they got rid of that quite a while ago. I still do like looking up at the stars. I am someone who does like the meteor showers, and I have a fascination with that. But it's not, I don't have the passion that I once had for it. And even with my degree of meteorology, I'm not a meteorologist today. I run a limousine service, I run a chauffeur transportation service. So it is something that, I think over time you become so hyper focused, you actually lose interest in it because you spend too much time involved in that subject. And now that I think about the limousine service, one of the other interests that I had, I am very big into maps. I love studying maps. Today, doing the limousine service, back when I was in high school, my college years, I delivered pizzas. I loved figuring out the way maps were laid out, or the way streets were laid out with the numbers. I enjoy seeing. I enjoy seeing some, when it comes to weather events. I enjoy seeing the resultant maps that come from it. I took a class in college that was GIS based, and I really, really enjoyed that. But again, it's one of those things. I'm not as fanatical about maps as I once was. So, again, I do think that over time, because someone like me, someone with Asperger's, tends to become so hyper focused on certain things, and we've talked about that hyper focus, that really strong focus into something, that you tend to become bored by it. And again, you look at, we talked last week about famous people that may have had Asperger's, and look at a couple of the big names that I mentioned in there. You had Albert Einstein and Isaac Newton, again, math and science people. Dan Aykroyd is someone who had Asperger's, was diagnosed with Asperger's, and he is more the artistic person, but he also enjoys some science with his fascination with ghosts. I think that is something kind of a science fiction, but still in that science arena. And again, it makes sense, with certain people that have Asperger's, that they have their artistic outlook or outlet, and for him, it's acting, whether it be in the Blues Brothers, Ghostbusters, or the kooky roach coach chef in Caddyshack. So it's, just because someone else who has been diagnosed as high functioning autistic or has Asperger's has a strong interest in a particular subject does not mean that you have to have a strong interest in that subject as well, or that you have to stay interested in the same subject. I will say that I encourage you to. I know it's tough. It's tough for me to try, new things, because we do like our patterns. We do like sameness, but I encourage trying different things and finding out what's right for you. And I think you'll find that you do have some interest that you may not know about, that you may be able to connect to what you truly are interested in. Again, for me, I do the limousine service. I enjoy maps. I enjoy doing math because I set the rates. I sit down and really analyze all the numbers. What do I need to charge in order to make a profit? How much do my vehicles cost per mile to operate? So on and so forth. So, I'm able to kind of incorporate all of those things all those things together with my business. But again, at the same time, it's also because I am not someone that's necessarily a people person. Like most people with Asperger's are not very uh, sociable, if you will. They don't. Their social skills are, we seem to be lacking. We don't develop as quickly as others. It is very difficult for me at times to go out and make that sale. So, we all have our strong suits. We all have our weaknesses. The truth is that I think every single person on the planet is truly created equally. It's just that people excel in one area and they don't flourish, or they find another area very difficult for them. So I hope that kind of sheds some light onto some subjects that you are interested in or want to find out more. Again, it's one of those things. I just try it, and if you don't like it, you're not stuck with it. But again, I don't think that there's any one subject that people with Asperger's technically go into, and I don't think that you need to stay with something. If you find something over time gets boring, try something new. Try to get out of your comfort zone, and who knows, you may be doing something extremely well. Like I said, math and science were my strong suits. I did some computer programming, and I think today, quite honestly, if you were interested in computer programming, you can find a career that is very lucrative in that. The math and numbers, you can become an actuary and create all sorts of insurance tables for life insurance companies. You could even become someone who studies mutual funds or the stock market and creates new mutual funds to outperform others and see patterns and things like that. Again, there are a lot of different subjects that you can be interested in. Don't be afraid to try something new. Again, thank you very much for tuning in. Next week, I'm not sure what my subject's going to be next week, so you're going to have to stay tuned for a special little surprise, because I've got a few different things. I've got a bunch of different topics I want to talk about, and I need to take some time and think about exactly what subject I want to talk about next week. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them below, and I will answer them when I'm able to. Also, if you enjoy this video or enjoy the other videos, please feel free to share this with your friends and family. Again, I want us as a community to be able to have an outlet to show other people that we are like them. We're just not we're socially awkward, but we still have a lot of the same interests. We're still very fascinating people. And, I don't want them to be afraid to ask us questions or to try to understand who we are better and why we do some of the things that we do. So please feel free to share this video among your friends, among your coworkers, colleagues, family members, and hit that button to subscribe so that the next time there's another new episode that you get notified about that new episode. Again, thank you very much for tuning into this episode of Kickin Asperger's, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a good day.